Our last video was about pre-diabetes. In this video we have insulin resistance. Since insulin resistance and pre-diabetes both are almost similar conditions, so that's why I have chosen this topic to share with you. This picture I have taken from my thumbnail to make you understand about process of energy production inside the cell. So as you know that we have already discussed about a certain type of cells in our body like adipocytes, liver cells, hepatocytes, and muscle cells. So suppose this is one of the cell. Let's suppose it's hepatocyte. So this cell will produce energy and also store energy. It has a factory where this all process is taking place. This factory requires raw material, which is glucose. Glucose has to enter through this door inside the cell to produce energy through glycolysis process. But glucose doesn't have ability to open this door and enter into the cell. So it requires help of insulin. Insulin is a guy who has key to open this door. If you don't have insulin, so this door will not be open and glucose will not go inside the cell and there will be no any energy production. All these things are important for energy production and storage of the energy inside the cells. Sometimes there are problems in the receptors of the insulin. The shape of this receptor is changed. That's why insulin cannot open the door. Why it happens? Because these cells became resistant to insulin. This cell is not responding to insulin. In this case, insulin will be increased in the bloodstream and glucose also will be increased in the bloodstream. Why? Because insulin is not opening the door, glucose is not entering into the cells, and to compensate glucose, pancreas is continuously producing insulin. So this kind of condition is called insulin resistance. So what is insulin resistance? Insulin resistance is a medical condition where our body cells such as hepatocytes, adipocytes and muscle cells do not respond well to insulin, as we already discussed. They become resistant to insulin, which means they do not remain efficient to uptake glucose from bloodstream. In this case, the condition will be developed which is known as insulin resistance. What is the significance of insulin resistance? It's a key factor to the onset of type 2 diabetes and other metabolic disorders such as heart attack and stroke. Which are the factors leading to insulin resistance? Genetic, like family history, excess body fats and lack of physical activity, high carbs and processed foods. Actually, high carbs and processed foods, they are causing blood sugar spikes. Why? Because they are digested rapidly. Pancreas produce higher amount of insulin to compensate these spikes. So how insulin resistance develops? As we discussed in our previous slide, increased glucose spikes increases the insulin production. Too much insulin in the blood affecting efficiency of adipocytes, hepatocytes and muscle cells. They become resistant to the action of insulin. Now, after resistance, they become less responsive. They do not uptake glucose well, resulting hyperglycemia. So our pancreas is performing its duty. If higher glucose levels, if hyperglycemia, pancreas has to pump up more insulin in the bloodstream to maintain normal glucose levels. The condition having too much insulin in the bloodstream called hyperinsulinemia, complications of insulin resistance. So when you have continuous higher insulin levels in the blood, it can make insulin resistance worse. Beta cells in our pancreas, they become tired and unable to produce the required amount or optimum amount of insulin to compensate blood glucose levels. So which results in elevated blood glucose levels leading to pre-diabetes first and then type 2 diabetes conditions. So insulin is not only blood glucose regulating hormone. It has other functions also. it inhibits the lipolysis in adipocytes. So if insulin is not working well or cells are not responding to insulin, there will be increase of lipolysis. If lipolysis is increased, so there will be free fatty acids in the blood which can cause atherosclerosis, like hardening of the arteries due to plaque formation, which is causing or leading to heart attack and stroke. When these free fatty acids are present in the blood in higher amount, liver is taking up them inside the cells, which is causing fatty liver. How we can diagnose insulin resistance? There are a number of tests to diagnose insulin resistance, like by fasting blood sugar, which is required 8 to 10 hours fasting. If the results are more than or equal to 100 milligram per deciliter, there is a chance of having insulin resistance. If fasting insulin levels are more than 24.90, could be insulin resistance. So nowadays we have another test which is called HOMA-IR to calculate insulin resistance. This is a calculation of fasting blood glucose and fasting insulin levels. If it's 0.5 to 1.9, so it's healthy or insulin sensitive. Above 1.9 is early insulin resistance, while more than 2.9 is significant insulin resistance. Another useful test is C-peptide. By C-peptide, we can indirectly measure insulin levels because our beta cells produce first proinsulin, not directly insulin. So this proinsulin contains insulin and C-peptide. When beta cells release insulin in the blood, at the same time it's releasing C-peptide. So the amount of insulin is equal to C-peptide when insulin release in the bloodstream. Insulin has several functions. Insulin has to attach to the cells, allow glucose to enter in the cells and doing its process. And at the same time in liver, there are some mechanisms where insulin is destroyed by some enzymes. But C-peptide doesn't have such problems. C-peptide will remain same in the blood. C-peptide is more reliable than the insulin measurement directly. Another test are triglyceride, HDL, HbA1c, OGTT. Triglyceride is also fasting test. 8 to 10 hours fasting required. If more than or equal to 150 milligram per deciliter, could be an indication of insulin resistance. If HDL fasting is less than 40 milligram per deciliter and HbA1c is 5.7 to 6.4%, OGTT, which is required 8 to 10 hours fasting, then patient has to drink 75 gram of glucose liquid, and after 2 hours a sample will be collected. If result is more than 140 milligram per deciliter or equal, there is a chance of having insulin resistance. So in this slide we have question answers. What is test preparation for insulin resistance? If doctor advises fasting, so the fasting will be 8 to 10 hours fasting, you can drink water. Is there any factor affect results? Yes, there are several factors. Some medical conditions can affect the results. So it's better to discuss or consult with the doctor before IR testing, insulin resistance testing. Does donephenoma affect the results? Already we have discussed in our previous lectures. You can go to the comments and you will find a link for the video. You can watch that video. So if glucose and insulin is higher, the other test, which is calculation of these both elements like HOMA-IR, also affected. So is insulin resistance life-threatening? It's a medical condition. Insulin is not only regulating blood glucose levels, it plays a crucial role in glucose storage, inhibition of glucose production and lipolysis. So if there is a problem in insulin, all these processes will be affected, so which can destroy our metabolic machinery. So how insulin resistance can be prevented? Insulin resistance is same as pre-diabetes. So these both are reversible. You can reverse these two medical conditions by adopting the following lifestyle, like balanced diet, regular exercise, limit processed food and sugar, choose healthy fats like olive oil and nuts, limit alcohol intake, consult with your doctor. If you like this video and presentation, please like, comment, share and subscribe. Whenever I upload new video, you will have a notification. Thank you so much.